Good morning to Cubs fans and the baseball world. This is the return of CUBSCAST and hopefully the beginning of in-season content here at Stoveminders. See, the stove is off and baseball is on. April 1st, 2021, opening day of the 150th season in Chicago Cubs history will commence against the Pittsburgh Pirates. A soft launch, given the Pirates are assumed to suck this year. They were the worst team in the majors in 2020 and sold off Josh Bell and the top third of the rotation. But besides that, the NL Central is perhaps the most open division in baseball this year, and our defending division champions will battle the Milwaukee Brewers, the St. Louis Cardinals, and even the Cincinnati Reds, I'd say, for the Central Crown all summer long. A lot of games, and they will feel important. This past winter was a Cubby crossroads. We did not foresee the size of that intersection. Club president Theo Epstein stepped down with 1 year remaining on his contract. He didn't quit. He went on to do bigger things, joining the competition committee of MLB's commissioner office as a consultant on the rules of the game. And given Epstein's vision of what baseball should be, that is one of the best things I heard this winter. So, Theo's protege and former general manager Jed Hoyer took the reins, and immediately the agenda came from the man upstairs, majority owner Thomas S. Ricketts, the Adam Sandler Tommy Boy of big league owners. Ricketts lost on a bunch of investments all at once, so sayonara to Chicago's highest paid and best played Cub in Yu Darvish. Bye-bye. An ace, a top 5 pitcher in baseball last year, along with a very good backup catcher in Victor Caratini, traded to the San Diego Padres in exchange for a starter in Zach Davies and 4 prospects who haven't seen Class A. Raw, promising. A move that won't pay off if it does for at least 4 seasons. It was clear from then that this would not be a positive offseason, not to mention the departure of the voice of the Cubs, Len Casper, to White Sox radio. Otherwise, it could have gone worse. There were rumors that the core would be tore down, with Chris Bryant, Javier Baez, and Anthony Rizzo going into contract years, plus rumors around catcher Wilson Contreras. Expect those rumors to continue until July 31st, the trade deadline. It was time to move on, though, from Jose Quintana, now an Angel. Tyler Chatwood got a deal with the Dunedin Blue Jays. And a couple of Cubs legends, let's call them what they are, and Kyle Schwarber and the old master John Lester, keeping the dream alive in D.C. So there goes 3/5 of our rotation. Our starting left fielder, our second catcher, a swingman, and our 2020 team MVP, Yu Darvish, gone. Even Jason Kipnis, he hit better than most of the core last year. He's gone. In return, blessed to wear the C are Zach Davies, right-handed starting pitcher who Cubs fans should be familiar with from his time as a Brewer. A solid, steady ground ball pitcher for our rotation's number 2 spot. Davies is all right, underrated in my opinion, and he'll have a good defense behind him. Look at how successful Kyle Hendricks has been with a similar pitching style. Professor Hendricks, our new number 1 starter, will get his 2nd straight opening day start. An old school 1-2 punch of ground ball inducers. I kind of love it. I hope Davies can learn a thing or two from Hendricks because he needs to be on it. Yu's shoes are huge ones to fill. Standing in Lester's or Quintana's shoes is an old face, Jake Arrieta. Welcome back to the Cubs, JK. He's not the Arrieta you remember. Even 2017, Arrieta seemed like a different pitcher altogether. He was not good with the Phillies. Lost his stuff, so to speak. Hopefully the pitch lab can work its magic on Jake the Snake. Returning starters besides Hendricks include the exciting Alec Mills, He'll throw a 67-mile-an-hour curveball, and he might just no-hit you. He's okay. Number 4 guy. Looks great at times, but unpredictable bottom line. Which is why we need Arrieta to rekindle at least some of that old magic. Get him back on the Pilates. And the number 5 spot is open. Well, might go to Trevor Williams to begin the season, given seniority and contractual reasons. But going through the year, I'm more excited about Albert Alzolay, the Cubs' top pitching prospect for seemingly forever. Alzolay is now 26 years old, with under 34 career big league innings. He looked really good in 2020. He has the potential for a strong 4-pitch arsenal. He has high spin, a 95-mile-an-hour sinker. Intriguing. So Adbert has to step up with a shot to be a top 3 starter in Chicago. This is truly a show us what you got kind of year for Alzolay. And as for Williams, he led the majors in home runs allowed last year. Yeah, I could only hope T-Will rekindles anything of who he was 3 years ago with the Pirates when he was like a solid, like number 3, 4 kind of starter. And who knows, maybe Shelby Miller will crack the rotation. I don't know. Who knows? That's your rotation. Bullpen is always a dump, so let's skim through that. Craig Kimbrell is the closer, quotations, because you can't just trust this guy these days. That said, Kimbrell had his shit together for most of 2020. He's regained some of his velocity, but my expectations for the Red Menace are tempered. If Kimbrell can't hold the closer gig down, we have Omaha Jason Adam. Now, hear me out. Adam has flown under the radar because of his 2 first names, but he's been effective the last few seasons. The writers are saying Jason Adam will be a major feature of this bullpen, early on especially, as North Vancouver's very own Rowan Wick remains on the injured list with an intercostal, that is the muscles between your ribcage, strain. Yikes. No timetable. He's been out for over 6 months. I don't know. I hope Rowan's okay because he was one of our best relievers last year and the year before that. No Wick is a blow, and no Jeremy Jeffress, who was our best reliever in 2020. Jeffress was unexpectedly released by the Washington Nationals early in March due to, quote, personnel reasons. That's all that was said by Nationals GM Mike Rizzo, who poached 3 former Cubs this winter. Remember, Schwarber, Lester, and Jeffress before he got released. Anyway, Jeffress did something wrong, and his former agent told the team, at least that's what Jeffress has said publicly. I wonder what it is, and if it's bad enough where we can't sign him, because we could use him. It's Kimbrell, Adam, Ryan Tepera, he's okay. Dan Winkler, he's okay. The 6'8", 257-pound Brad Wick, actually in the minors. Ex-Red Sox closer Brandon Workman. The wild animal Dylan Maples, lurking in the minors as well. Jonathan Holder. And our only lefties in the pen to start the season are Rex Brothers and the Sheriff, Andrew Chafin. Could be good, but they need consistency, and that's not been the mark of the Cubs relief corps. Switching sides, bottom of the inning. Okay, the lineup. What's going on there, CUBSCAST? Our biggest changes in left field, where once stood Kyle Schwarber, is now a Jock. Jock Peterson. Basically the same hitter as Schwarby. I mean, serially, eerily similar slash lines, splits, and hitting styles for the left-handed sluggers. Peterson is going from the championship-winning Los Angeles Dodgers to a Cubs team where he actually has a chance to play every day. Remember, the Dodgers, he was sort of a rotational platoon-style outfielder. If Jock hits anything like in spring training, and I know it means nothing, but he was hot, like one of the best hitters in spring this year, I'll be happy. I like his swag. He makes opponents mad. And if anything, hitting at Wrigley over Dodger Stadium is an advantage for him, or it should be. Besides that, the only big change in the field is the absence of Albert Almora, now a New York Met. I will miss his highlight reel catches. And that means center field is all for Ian Happ, who looked like the leadoff hitter we needed in 2020. High 800s OPS, gotta love it. A breakthrough season. Now, what steps can Happ take in his age 2027 season, 2021. And Jason Hayward in right field, of course. He's a big part of this team, from payroll to leadership. And in 2020, he actually hit well. So let's see a little more of that, Jay. Hey. Meanwhile, Jake Marisnick will see time in the grass if he can stay healthy. Not a good hitter, but runs well and plays very good center. Nice piece to have. We also signed former Diamondbacks infielder Ildemaro Vargas, who was later designated for assignment, while we finally got rid of Daniel Descalso. And we cut a bunch of minor league deals to veterans, some of whom are still on the team. Cameron Maben, who will start the season in the minors. Eric Sogard, and Matt Duffy made the roster. Shelby Miller, I was hearing a bunch about his slider. He's there. Pedro Strop. Hey, welcome back, Pedro. And Patrick Wisdom. Love the name. You know the rest. First base, Anthony Rizzo. Third base, Chris Bryant. Shortstop, Javier Baez. And at second base, a mix of Nico Horner and David Bodie. A competition to watch throughout the season. Horner hit poorly in 2020, although he did get a gold glove. Congratulations. He'll start the year in AAA, while Eric Sogard, who had very good stretches in his career, the nerd, will be on the opening day roster. Oh, and catcher, right, yeah, Wilson Contreras is still here. I feel like so many of these guys have been here for a long time. This has been a tight-knit, tightly grouped Chicago Cubs team for what feels like 5, 6, 7 years, right? And it might be coming to an end. That's what people are saying. This is the swan song year. This is the last year of this core. We don't know whether or not these guys will be re-signed or traded or what. So let's just put that aside, or not. Maybe that helps you enjoy the season. More power to you. Where was I? Right. Willie still handling the majority of the catching. No more Caratini, so the backup spot will go to Austin Romine, longtime Yankees and Tigers backup. Solid bat. Cubs fans have heard of a catcher named Miguel Amaya, a top 100 worldwide prospect, one of 3 in the Cubs organization. The 22-year-old Amaya will start the year in Double-A. Very young catcher. He's still got some years to do. Other prospects to follow are outfielder Brennan Davis, who has impressed at every level, including spring this year. The coaches love his approach. This guy can make adjustments like nothing at the age of 21, very mature from a batting standpoint. And of course, all his other tools, the power, the speed, the arm strength. But Davis, very young, 21, will be a future hitter in the outfield for now in the minors, at least a couple years till the majors. But I like Big Brennan's trajectory. And number 1 on the Cubs prospect rankings is left-handed pitcher Braylon Marquez. He looked shook in his big league debut in 2020, but granted, he was 21 years old, came straight from high A. He skipped 2 levels of the minors and was over in South Bend just playing intra-squad drills and stuff. Like, hey, man, we need you to come here for the Crosstown Cup. You're facing the White Sox. And while it did not go well for the most part, he struck out AL MVP Jose Abreu on a 99-mile-an-hour fastball. And people were like, oh, that's what this guy is about. Braylon is highly regarded, not only for his fastball, but because his secondaries can be great, but his frame, his delivery, have proven hard to work with. Marquez will start in Double-A as well, and he might just end up a shutdown closer down the line. I'm not sure how fast his track is to the majors. Could be fast, could be slow. There was a lot of talk this winter about a Cubs fire sale that did not come to fruition. Bryant and Contreras are no strangers to the rumor mill. Clearly, the Cubs' demands thus far have been too high for other teams. Fair enough. Or nobody's buying Bryant. He has hit poorly in recent years, though not consistently bad. Okay, 2020, yeah, but 2019 there was like, okay, all right, maybe KB's back, and then it was like, oh, more injuries. He's had just multiple small injuries to different parts of his body, and I think that's really messed up his swing. I think it's a mechanical issue with Bryant, and of course also a mindset issue, because clearly this guy's lost his love for the game. He looks absolutely miserable out there. He admitted as such. I'm glad he's recognized this, and I just hope Bryant can kind of reorient his focus and just go in there. Also, $19.5 million price tag was another factor to the fact he did not get traded this offseason, although all signs seem to point that he should have been. A different story at the trade deadline, we shall see. I will be shocked if Willie gets dealt, given the premium on catchers, and he has an extra year under contract. It would take a serious haul to get Contreras out of Chicago, I will say that much. Bryant, along with Rizzo and Baez, are in the final years of their contract. Talk about a turnover. The rumors will continue throughout the year, and if the Cubs look uncompetitive come July, we might just see a trigger pulled. Seriously. If not, I doubt the organization can afford all three, given the current payroll and the stingy ownership. Baez, Bryant, Rizzo. I mean, franchise faces, club cornerstones. People will talk about these guys 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road when we look back on that dynasty that never was, but that team that did manage to break the most notorious championship drought in professional sports. KB, AR, and JB have all said they are open to an extension, but that's just good PR. You got to keep your options open, and you got to keep a good relationship with your old team in case you do want to return. None of those three guys have I will say, a bad relationship with the Cubs organization. I'm sure everyone has their opinions about the executive level, the ownership level, and the direction of the team. But as far as the clubhouse, as I said, a tightly knit team, so tight knit that they brought back a former player in catcher David Ross, who had no managerial experience, not to discount his knowledge of the game. I mean, catchers basically are in-game managers, right? Brought him in to be their manager, and his first season was 2020, which was an absolute gong show. Talk about a trial by fire. I think he did pretty well with what he had. I don't know if it's just the fact it's the same guys every year, but you gotta have just a different mindset. I'm talking about the managers here and the coaches here, starting in August and September, because the amount of we keep faltering in that late season, it's BS. Rizzo seems the likeliest to stay, but here's where I get to do a little stove mining, okay? Rizzo had an opening day deadline for contract negotiations, saying he wants to focus on baseball during the season. Fair. The Cubs offered him a 5-year, $70 million contract, front-loaded and incentives-loaded. Compare that to the 9-year, $75 million deal he's coming off of, super team-friendly that Tony signed in 2013, a little earlier in his career. So the one the Cubs proposed to him, and this is news, like this came out yesterday, it's a raise, okay? He'd make $14 million a year. That's solid. But compare that to Paul Goldschmidt's 7-year, $120 million contract, or Freddie Freeman's 8-year, $135 million contract. The reason I bring these other first basemen up is that's where Rizzo and his agent will set his value, right? I mean, Rizzo is a high-level first baseman. The guy can hit in all ways, and he's a gold glover. So $16 to $18 million in salary on average is what Goldie and Freeman got, and a good bit of length on top of that. So both aspects surpassed what the Cubs offered him, although we don't know the exact details of the incentives and how achievable or how lucrative those may have been. I'm afraid the Cubs are lowballing the heart of the team right here. I mean, Rizzo is just given so much. I think Rizzo wants to stay, but bottom line, this guy all cares about his bottom line. He said so as much. He said this is business. And entering free agency, in theory, creates a bidding war that is in the player's favor. That's the predominant school of thought. And next winter, Rizzo will compete with Freddie Freeman. How about that? And they're the same age, same position, same league, same type of production, although Freeman has won an MVP, while Rizzo, I would say, was deserving of an MVP in 2016 that later went to Bryant. This is my opinion. Remember that Jed Hoyer has twice acquired Rizzo in his executive career. The two are more tied than most players and general managers. I mean, a lot more. But this is business. And the free agent class is even more loaded at shortstop. Francisco Lindor, Carlos Correa, Trevor Story, and Javier Baez are all free agents next winter. All of these guys could make hundreds of millions of US dollars. I mean, that's crazy. And there's going to be only so many teams that have that sort of payroll flexibility, and maybe even so many teams that have that certain need. It's hard to pass up a player like that. You could always change positions, but I think of like the New York Yankees, what they have at shortstop with Gleyber Torres. But besides that, Bryant is under the most pressure to bounce back. for his own value. He's the least likely to return as well. I would say a change of scenery candidate. But if his price tag gets a reality check and he doesn't have a great 2021, while Rizzo and Javi are talking 9 figures and holding out, then Ricketts would probably be all in on KB. Let's be realistic. Especially if it's like Brian has a bad year, people aren't giving him great stuff, and the Cubs just throw him like a 1-year deal. It's a frustrating situation from that perspective. A disinterested, penny-pinching owner who feels secure now that the team won a championship, can't be bothered for more as long as fans keep coming to Wrigleyville Amusement Park. Man, I'm going to try to not focus on the financial stuff, even though this is Stoveminders, when it comes to the Cubs this season and baseball in general in 2021. Because after the 60-game Corona season and what could be a lockout in 2022, this year right here is all the baseball we can get. And we're going to need bounce backs from almost everyone. The Cubs had the 4th highest strikeout rate in the majors in 2020. That's terrible. Baez was exposed. What's a magician without his audience? Or in-game replay on the iPads for that matter. Javi hit 203 with a get this 238 on base percentage last year. He struck out 75 times in 59 games. It was the worst year of his career. Bryant, he hit 206 with a 293 on base. Terrible. Rizzo hit 222. Corner and Bodie had bad years at the plate. Our biggest run producers were Happ, hats off. Rizzo, he did something. Contreras, and Jason Hayward. Hey, love to see it. But the main players were nowhere to be seen. It's a new year. And when you put last season behind you, because it was the weirdest year you can imagine, these guys are high-level baseball players. They wouldn't be at this level if they didn't have an intense, competitive spirit. You know that their free agent value is at stake. They're due for some sort of a positive swing and maybe a big one. I really hope that all these guys, hey, listen, if this is our final year together, let's just ball out. I outlined the pitching staff earlier. Hendricks and Davies are a solid if repetitive top 2. And the Mills, Alzolay, Arrieta, and maybe Trevor Williams will have to step up, at least a couple of those guys, for us to win 80+. Likewise with the bullpen, which has a lot of unknown commodities. I'm not huge on this pitching staff, but let's see what we can do. Managerially, as I said, it's David Ross's 2nd year at the helm for a big league club, a regular season. Godspeed, Rossi. Broadly, I expect the 2021 Cubs to win between 70 and 90 games, finishing anywhere from 3rd to 1st in the NL Central. If we can win a postseason match, I'll be satisfied. If we can make it to the NLCS, that would be awesome. I'm sick of the late season collapses year after year, and it's naive to expect different from mostly the same roster, right? Ending on a positive note, where we began. 150 years of this franchise. The Chicago Cubs, formerly the Orphans, the Colts, and the White Stockings. What sort of old-time shenanigans will transpire at Wrigley Field with attendance starting at 20% capacity and hopefully rising? How many throwback jerseys are on the way? Stay posted and stay toasted. This is Stoveminders CUBSCAST.